7 years, I was denied my Mexican background. So I speak this way, I talk this way, I code switch so I can go back and forth between how my peers spoke. They grew up south of me, they grew up in inner city San Diego, and I was the only person who couldn't identify with that. So growing up, I didn't think I was Hispanic. I didn't have that connection. I speak Spanish at home, my entire family speaks Spanish to one another, but I didn't think I was Hispanic. I never had that validation. I was told every day by my peers, counselors, teachers, that I was not. That's how I view the world. It wasn't until I went to college and I took Chicano studies, Latin American studies, and I saw myself reflected back from the screen. Chicano film showed me that having colorful walls and having paper mache fruit and having roosters in your kitchen were cultural icons that are very specific to Mexican Americans, especially in Southern California. I went to Reed College to begin with. That was where I first started out, predominantly white, extremely rich. I went to school with heirs to millions and millions. It was 2008, recession hit, people were talking about their trust funds, and I was there on a full ride scholarship. So I had never experienced this sort of diversity. I never really experienced white culture. You know, I thought that's what I was, and it wasn't until I went to college that I realized, no, that's not, you can't really identify with that. Like, I can claim it sometimes, but not like I thought I could before growing up in San Diego. I decided to do interdisciplinary studies in historiography, and I'm an anthropologist in nature, and so I do understand that there are many issues in anthropology and subjecting people to becoming objects, to objectifying. So I studied oral history. I went to Peru for 5 months, January to June, 6 months. And I realized that oral history is basically how I thrive, how I live. I live too transformative there. But I decided to do oral history in Iquitos. I didn't bring any pictures. I visited a Shawi family, an indigenous family, and that was their Shawi community. It's actually just one extended family. And they opened up their home to me for an entire day. And that's all I really could get. I was living in the city, but I wasn't in the jungle except for one day, where I just sat in their home, and it's this elevated thatch roof, elevated wooden plank, well, not even planks, they were just logs that they tie together, and that's where they sleep and eat, communal space. Communal history revolves around the enslavement, the massacre, the genocide that happened in the Amazon that people don't know happened outside of the region. Peru largely views the Amazon as a Western civilization would view the Amazon. Undiscovered, unpopulated, uncivilized, but that's not the case. I mean, there were hundreds of thousands of people in these areas who had thousands of years of civilization and society and culture and tradition, and when the rubber boom happened in the 1800s, Germans came, decimated the people, used them as slaves, and then we have the painted picture of the cannibal, the Amazonian indigenous wild person, and that's where that comes from. So the oral histories are all revolve around that narrative, that there's creation myths. They are very similar to other creation myths from around the world. A being created light, he created earth, he created water, he created it in separate stages, and then he decided to create a human being from a seed. So I did end up making a children's book with the permission of the Shawi community, and to credit them as authors, and it was my own illustration. But I decided never to publish it, never to bring it out into the open. I did it for my project, and all the questions we talked about, I've struggled with. Who am I? I'm not even Peruvian. Like, I didn't even consider myself Mexican for a while, because I don't feel like, I've been told I haven't experienced Mexican life. So it's sitting with me in my room, and I have my paintings, I have my watercolors, I have my own translation of their narratives, and I transcribed it, and I did my ethnography, but I need to go back, and that's probably where my master's thesis is going to take me. But it was called Difficult Decisions because that was what moves. So I kind of want to work with art as therapy or as activism, because that's what I've done in the last 4 or 5 years. It shaped who I am, It shaped how I think. It shaped my emotional stability. Like, you know, it's just part of me. So